All right, we'll get our meeting started. This is the Cherry Creek Steering Committee meeting, the first one for 2026. So happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for joining. Um, I do expect that we'll have our guest joining here and maybe a few more people. We have 15 people right now, but remember, we did not have a meeting. Oh, by the way, I'm Lou Raiders. I'm your current chair. And as always, every January, I say, please confirm the folks that will be representing your RNO or your business district for the upcoming year. And Robin has already done that. Robin, thank you. So if you all, I think Country Club Doug, I think right now you and Rob and Bob are the only three. So you have one open seat. I don't know if you want to start having um, your president join, but anyway, I know that was an open seat from last year. So
Right. I'm
um,
still the president of Country Club. I think we'll see if I can recruit one more member for the steering committee for
yeah,
this year.
okay. Okay, and we can talk about that and talk about, again, some items that we all might want to talk about for this year. I don't know if Rob is going to be joining us, but he did send an email, and Doug, you were copied on that, on an issue with sound from the cars going down our major streets. So I told him I would definitely get that over to Stuart, and we'll put that on an issue to try to frame it correctly and get it out. I know several people, Linda, you might be one of them, who hear a lot of noise on six, especially when they're doing their drag racing kind of thing that it hasn't seemed to be as bad lately, but usually in the summer it's back. So those are good conversations. And if folks have other ideas for this year, if you would get those to me, we'll be sort of sifting through what the big issues are, where we ended up on some of those. And I think it's just good to look back to last year and think about what kind of energy we put into what projects and where we are on those. So let me just do that actually now with a few of the most obvious. We spent a lot of time last year, thanks to Councilwoman Sawyer for bringing the issue of whether a JID would be appropriate for the neighborhood. I know that she has done another survey, so we'll see how many of those same issues come up. And we know that after that long and really arduous and sometimes painful process, we are not moving forward with the JIT at this time. So we'll look at what issues she brings up, and hopefully maybe even the next or the February or March meeting will ask her to talk a little bit about the results of her story or survey for this upcoming year. But that's the story for last year. The survey results, the attempt to solve some of those issues that come up in the survey with the JID, that process it has been shut down. And it doesn't mean it can't come up again some other time, but I don't think any of us see it coming up anytime soon. So we also had a number of things that moved forward. The Cherry Creek West project moving forward under the community benefits agreement that we did through this committee and with a lot of help from a lot of y'all. So that is, we're going to get an update on that, but that is finally coming to fruition. We have a lot to look forward to in 2026 coming out of that process. As they are now going to be breaking ground and doing some of that work, we'll see the First Avenue and University corner being discussed. Again, thanks to Councilwoman Sawyer, we actually have vibrant bond money to make that the best possible connection. We know we have bike lane across that frontage on Cherry Creek West, so that will be something to really think about how that connects. And I know Stuart will also be really involved in that. We had several other things last year. We had a presentation on the rezoning and redevelopment of the Cherry Creek Dance parcel. That is moving forward. Ron and Linda have been very involved with me on the zoning committee for CCNNA to talk about to work on that. We can't talk about any
No, no,
specifics. No
no,
specifics.
quasi
Just
judicial. We cannot talk about that. I'm happy
no.
to, you all could talk about it after I leave, but just a reminder, we
Yeah,
cannot talk
no,
about that.
these are just things looking back and looking
Okay.
forward. So we anticipate that to be, now that they have filed, moving forward in 2026. So, things started in 2025, moving forward in 2026. I'm sure there are many other issues, and specifically as we continue to watch the redevelopment, we really thank the bid and Richard in particular and Nick for keeping us apprised and keeping us involved. We had a lot of discussions about how we're knitting together our communities with the bid and supporting the businesses. Cherry Creek North, a lot of folks, Linda at the helm of this effort, really did focus on a lot of businesses. The CCNNA has expanded its membership base to really go out and try to connect with those businesses. And then with that, we've also really tried to highlight those businesses and remind all of the people that live in Cherry Creek that we live here because of our proximity to businesses. And so we are personally invested in their success. We had a real focus on show of hands, and that was very successful for them. We also had a food drive that many of you participated in, and we appreciated that. We had that drop off at show of hands, and that has been a really fun thing to see those relationships continue and deepen. We all talked last year about the electric charging stations at the mall. That's done. They did agree to a number of things to help make that integrate beautifully with the landscaping as you move in, if you drive into that parking lot. So that was very successful. We'll see. I think we reported and Mike reported and his team. There will be changes at the mall that will find Crate and Barrel coming back to a space. So those are just some things that we talked about in 2025 at the steering committee level. We're going to see those things move forward into 2026. So we'll have much more as we move into 2026 and just continuation of a lot of those issues. But again, if there are specific issues that we want to talk about, and as things come up, please send those ideas to me and we'll find people to speak to those issues as guests. And then those recordings, of course, go up on the Cherry Creek North website. You can then share those with your communities to help keep everybody in the Cherry Creek area informed. And Councilwoman does a great job with that on her website and her updates. But that is one thing that we'll continue to focus on as we move forward into 2026. So again, no meeting in December. I hope you all had a great holiday and wonderful new year. We are in it. So we will get started here and turn it over to Councilwoman, who is the only council person here. We so appreciate you always showing up, Councilwoman Sawyer. So let me turn it over to you, welcome you, and have you provide your updates.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lou, and Happy New Year, everyone. I feel like we almost can't say that anymore, but we're gonna. And also I feel like January is supposed to be that really calm, relaxing time where we all catch up on all the work that we were supposed to be doing. And I'm just going to be real honest, this January has had zero chill up to this point. And so we have hit the ground running into 2026, I think. I think that there's a lot going on downtown, as I'm sure you've been tracking, but really excited about a number of the, things that are coming up. There's a lot of work going on around Cherry Creek. In particular, like I said, can't discuss the rezoning of the Cherry Creek dance area because that dance building that it has been filed. And actually, I believe they go to planning board next week. So it's moving forward pretty quickly here. So if you have any comments for planning board or you would like to speak, please do. Connor can put the sign up in the link in the chat so you guys have that. Also then after, assuming it moves forward from planning board, there will be a city council hearing and you can sign up for that as well. If you do not want to speak, that's totally cool. You can also email in your comments. We have a number of people who have already done that. So we can, we take comments lots of different ways. So please be active in that if you're interested in that. And most importantly for you guys, it's property tax time. So this is a postcard that I got to my house. That is my property tax bill. Normally, it comes as a letter, right? And you open the letter and it says, here's your property tax and whatever. The Department of Finance this year, for budget reasons, didn't do that. They sent a postcard that is very confusing. And so I'm just going to explain to you all that your property taxes need to be paid now. And when you get this postcard, there's a website that you go to, and that is how you can actually figure out what your property taxes are and what you need to pay. I'm just going to warn you.
Very easy. I've done it.
Sorry, Alan, I didn't hear you.
It's very easy. I've already done it.
Great, fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for the feedback. We have had a number of residents reach out to us because this is the first year that this has been done this way, and it's very confusing. I'm also just going to tell you guys, if you put your property taxes on a credit card, you will be charged a 2.5% processing fee for your property taxes, which means they'll be 2.5% more expensive than they would otherwise have been. So don't do that. So you can pay via an ACH where you put in your bank account information. There is no fee associated with that. You can also mail in a check as you have been able to do before. This is not ideal, but this is where we are. So I just want to flag for you that it's a little bit different this year. And when you get this postcard, I should just take my thing off so you can actually see the postcard. But when you get this postcard, you should go to that website so that you can actually pay your property taxes. Sorry about this. City Council does not run the operations of the city and county of Denver. It was not our decision, and no one asked us if it was okay before they did it. Just a disclaimer, just trying to make sure you guys get your property taxes paid. Additionally, if your property taxes are already paid in your mortgage, along with your insurance, you need to do nothing. Nothing changes for you. So if you are one of the many, many people for whom your property taxes are included in your mortgage payments, you do not need to do a thing. This is only for people who either own their homes outright or pay their property taxes separately from their mortgages. So I think that's the big one, and happy to answer any questions that you guys have as we kick off, 2026. One quick reminder, we are going to do, every year we do an open house where we bring city agencies out into the community and provide an opportunity for you to meet with them directly, have conversations with them, connect with them. We also include a number of our different community partners. So Transportation Solutions, for example, will be there. It is Tuesday, February 10th at 5:30 p.m. at George Washington High School this year. So Tuesday, February 10th, 5:30 p.m., George Washington High School. It'll be up in the library park in the north parking lot and enter through the north doors. And we will have elevator access or stair access to be able to get you up to the second floor, which is where the library is. And we have a number of different agencies and community partners who will be there. And so all kinds of questions that you've got, we have got the right people in the room to answer for you. So please join us. I think that's it. Connor, did I forget anything? Nope. Okay.
No, you never do.
Yeah. I think that's it. Great to see everyone. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Okay, I'm looking for our Excel folks.
Yep. Grace is here. Yep.
Oh, Grace is here.
All right.
Amanda, one question.
And I
This is
think
Bob
Ruby
Fuller.
was going to join. I don't see her. Okay.
Bob, did you have a question for me?
Go ahead, Bob.
It's for Amanda.
Yeah.
In the past, the city's made residential property information available on residential properties. But in order to get the appraisal or information on your commercial properties, you have to hire an appraiser. Has that been changed? There was an issue, and we said something about the Open Records Act, that the city was withholding that and having the appraisers subscribe to some kind of a fee or something to get that information. Has that been changed? Are we able now to get our commercial log in and get our commercial values and appraisals or from the appraiser?
I don't know. That's a great question. So the appraisals for all properties in the city come from comparable sales, right? Around the city and in different neighborhoods, and that is all done by our assessor's office. So, Connor, if you want to email us, Connor can put you in touch with the assessor's office to have that conversation. Again, we do not run the operations of the city of Denver, so I do not have any idea whether that is available to you. And I have no knowledge at all whatsoever of the issue that you had previously.
Thank you.
Yeah, but please email us and we'll go ahead and Connor just put his email address in the chat. So email him directly and we'll put you in touch with the assessor's office.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Councilwoman? I'll just ask, how's it going on downloading all the information from your survey? And when do you think you'll be able to talk to us about that?
Connor and Fallon are working on it now. Connor, you want to give us an update?
We're wrapping it up kind of this week, so I think we got to do some internal review. Obviously the councilwoman gets everything kind of first, but I think the goal is to get it out to you guys next month or soon after that. But we're trying to make it all pretty and make sure that we get as much information out for the councilwoman and for you guys, make it as useful as possible.
How were the responses this year?
Really, really good. I think Fallon being in the office, having someone to be able to kind of take the lead on the communication side of it, was super helpful. So in terms of just number of responses and I would say depth of feedback, it's looking really good kind of as we comb through it. So
great. Well, thank you for that update.
yeah, of course.
Okay, we'll go over to I think Richard, you're here representing the team. And thank you for a fabulous, gorgeous, bid holiday. I know the weather was not great for skiing, but it was sure nice to walk around the neighborhood and enjoy the lights.
Certainly has been. Probably my favorite project of the year is when we turn the lights on. I have to say it really changes it changes the environment in such a great way. But yeah, a little bit of a holiday recap for everybody. I don't know sales tax numbers yet. However, just from talking to some stores, I've had some that were up. You mentioned show of hands earlier, which I think the community support there really moved the needle, quite frankly, on keeping that place in business, which was wonderful to see that happen. Some of the restaurants, some were up, some were down. I think the hotels had a decent December, it sounds like. So overall, the holiday season was a good win for us. On a construction update, which is probably the biggest challenge we have going on right now, a lot of work going on with more to come. So you'll start to see a lot of impacts in Second Avenue with some lane closures and different sporadic closures, really hitting heavy in February just to finish all the utility work and tie-ins for 201 Fillmore. We have closure for another tower crane going up at the Cherry Lane project. I'll do 2 tower cranes over there. Work down by the Waldorf site. So you'll just start to see a lot of impact. From the bid side, we're working hand in hand with the right-of-way folks. And I will say, we are lucky as a community to have Delfino Rodriguez from the city as our right-of-way inspector. We are very fortunate. He thinks outside the box, puts safety first, but understands pedestrian access and really works with everybody to make sure we have solutions that work. And the contractors have been good at punching projects for us and making sure not impacting busy days for the stores. So yeah, that's going on. 250 Clayton's going to start soon, so that you'll start seeing some work in there by March. So that will be getting fenced off. The good news is all of those big mature trees are all being saved, which was an important part, I think, for the bro folks and for us and for the community. We really wanted to save the big trees. Wherever we can save trees, we're always going to try and save them. That's always, we think, our most important natural asset of that community is the trees, the shade they provide, and being able to light them up in the wintertime. Outside of that, we're kind of going into planning modes right now on our landscape plan for the year and looking at just some improvements throughout the right of way. So no shortage of things going on this year.
Well,
Any questions?
will add one more since you didn't bring it up, but I don't know if any of you received this letter from the Halcyon. Hello, Cherry Creek North friends. We want to share some neighborhood news from your friends at Halcyon, a hotel in Cherry Creek. While passing by, you may have noticed the historic bell just outside our doors. Beginning February 6th, we will be reviving a longtime tradition and ringing the bell each afternoon to mark the shift from workday to wind down, Halcyon's official social hour. We invite you to swing by, join us for happy hour specials at local Jones, and simply enjoy the sound from wherever you are. It's our small way of celebrating community connection and the spirit of our neighborhood. We look forward to sharing the moment with you every afternoon, one ring at a time. So I think that'll be really fun to have that bell back in use. And I don't know about you, but I'm retired now, so they could start ringing that bell at noon.
I can hear it from my office probably, so I'm good.
I know, right? All right. Okay. I think I would like to turn it right now over to
Ooh,
Jenny.
I just want to make one announcement about Cherry Creek North. For anybody who doesn't know, the library is now open 7 days a week. They have extended hours. They're open from 9 till 6, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5 on Fridays, then I think Saturdays and Sundays. But we have a library that is open 7 days a week.
And I think they are
Yay.
going to have some special events this year. I guess I would like to tell everybody, just as a teaser, there is a committee that has been formed in connection with the Colorado 150 Commission, and Gary Jackson is on the big commission for that. Several of us are working on having an event in Cherry Creek that will be the history of Cherry Creek and its unspoken past that really includes a lot of the fact that this was an area where not only was there the city dump, but we had there were floods and there were indigenous and then African Americans who moved into this neighborhood long before it became the Cherry Creek North we know today. So we're working on an event, and it is currently scheduled for June 25th. If you'll put a placeholder on June 25th, it's going to be at the Daniels Foundation building. It will probably, we'll have some refreshments and some different areas where you can learn about some history, and we'll be working on putting together a timeline. So with all the Colorado 150 events that will be going on, we'll have our own right here. So as we know more, we will be reaching out, and if anybody has any we've got a history video up on the Cherry Creek website, but if anybody has sort of a wealth of knowledge about the history of Cherry Creek, reach out to me, because it'll be great to have everybody participating. And certainly, Richard and Mike, I'll be reaching out to you guys, since we want to make sure that this is inclusive of all of our Cherry Creek statistical neighborhood, including the mall and where the dump originally was. And I think that was actually leased, from what I'm researching, leased from the Buell Foundation to the city for that purpose, because he originally wanted to put a high-rise building on that site. So we're getting some history. We'll put it together. We'll share it with you all. But we are going to have an event on the 25th. It will be really trying to focus on some of that history that really involves our BIPOC communities that were here before many of us were, and honor them and talk about, what happened when did the flooding stop? Well, it was when the Cherry Creek Dam was put in. Well, when was that? So getting a timeline, I think, will really be advantageous. And then we hope to make something of that. And we're still at the beginning. It's not that far away. So if anybody wants to be involved, but we'd love to have this shared, obviously, with all of our area residents and participants and businesses. We're very thankful that the Daniels Foundation is really focused on this. They're also a sponsor of the Colorado 150. So we'll have more news next month, and hopefully we will have, if not Gary, Regina Jackson come and talk to us a little bit more about the reason that they really focused on this and got so many of us excited and involved. And we'll have more details on how you can be involved and how you can share the information with your neighborhood. So thank you for that. All right. I think there's a lot of updates from Jenny on Cherry Creek West. So I'd like to welcome her again and have her update us on where they are.
Thank you, Lou. Hey, everybody, Jenny Jacobs from East West Partners. So we are very excited that we're going to be moving forward with the next phase of the project. So we'll be actually closing the surface parking lots starting next week on the site to prepare for demolition. So yeah, we're going to be closing that off. So you'll see fencing going up around the perimeter of the site. It will cover the entire area, so all along First, University, Cherry Creek North Drive, and Clayton. Demolition won't actually begin until March, but we will start disconnecting some of the utilities that are going to the first buildings that we're taking down. So there are 3 buildings on the site. We're keeping the old Bed Bath & Beyond for now as a construction office, but we're taking down the old Elways and the old Macy's furniture. So those will be the first 2 buildings we're taking down. We'll start in March, and that work will go through the summer. So probably July, but I will be here monthly giving updates, and also on our website, we'll be posting updates. But I had also, we prepared like a 1-page flyer with answering, frequently asked questions, talking about the hours, explaining that our team will be, the construction team will be parking on the site around the old Bed Bath & Beyond. So not parking in the neighborhoods. But anyway, if anyone didn't receive that flyer, I know we've posted in a lot of places, but if you didn't receive it, then I would love to send that out or share that with the group if you didn't get it. So happy to do that. Or I'm happy to answer questions now as well.
I think Bill just asked a question. So he asked whether that sidewalk would be open on the east side to connect to the path.
I can share an aerial that shows which sidewalks will be open and closed. I think I know the one.
Let me get, let's see. Okay, you're allowed now.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
There it is. Yep.
Okay, so this is that one pager was talking about with information about hours and what to expect and hours, things like that. And then down here at the bottom, we do have an aerial just showing the site and sidewalks that will be open. So we're able to keep University open, also all along First. Unfortunately, along Clayton, just on the side closest to the site, that sidewalk will be closed because that's where a lot of the utilities are. So we'll be digging up around those sidewalks. So unfortunately, we do have to close that side of the sidewalk. I know it's very like narrow, but there is a sidewalk on the other side of Clayton, or we do have the sidewalks on University, which are still open. And then also the sidewalks on Cherry Creek North Drive will be open. And also obviously the city property where the Cherry Creek Trail is, all of that will remain open to the south of the site as well. So it's really just that section from where the crosswalk is in front of Nordstrom down to the area where the pedestrian crossing is to the bike path. And we looked at it in a lot of different ways, but just where the utilities are, it is under that sidewalk. So that was the reason for that.
Several of you have asked to get a copy of this. I will email this flyer to everyone because Jenny, this is the flyer you sent out and that you emailed to me. Is that
correct? This is it.
So I will send it out to everybody on the steering committee list after the meeting, along with the recording of this meeting tonight.
So can I just ask if people are trying to cross from Clayton Lane over to the mall? I guess that crosswalk will also be closed now, so there'll be no way to actually do pedestrian access except at the furniture store, I guess. Is that right?
The sidewalk along Clayton will be closed. So I would not walk. Like there is a very narrow sidewalk on the Nordstrom side where their loading is, but then I don't know. To me, that's very narrow. So I want.
And Jenny, if I could jump in real fast, it's actually not continuous either. Because of the dock and everything else, it's not really intended as a pedestrian pathway.
So really, University is the best bet for that.
Okay, I guess that's what I was asking. So that you can still cross. Will you be able to cross First Avenue to get into the Nordstroms, or that entrance will then be closed?
Yes.
No.
Okay. The First Avenue sidewalk is remaining open.
I see. Okay. All right.
Other questions? Jenny, one of the things that would be good, because there's been a lot of planning that has been ongoing, and it would be great if maybe next month we could look at where you guys are in terms of your actual architectural plans and elevations, and you can give us an update on real project specifics. And I don't know if that's you or that's Amy or who wants to do that, but
sure.
I do know that, as I mentioned before, one of the big things that will be coming up this year in 2026 is that planning with Dottie. I assume that that's not finalized yet, that
Correct.
First Avenue
Mm-hmm.
and the intersection. And I know, Stuart, you've been involved with that as well as our Transportation Solutions TMA representative. I don't know if you want to say anything about that right now, Stuart, about that process.
No, I just think I'm looking forward to engaging in that. We've got some complicated factors at that intersection. We have very high traffic volumes. It's going to be very difficult to eliminate the pork chops, which I know some of you are expecting, but the volume is just too great to take those away. But those are things that we'll be looking at when the project opens.
And just to add on to that, the First Avenue, the spear from University to Downing, that process has been tabled. So many of you went to Bromwell to see what the recommendations, and this was all a part of following up from Denver Moves Cherry Creek, which is also sort of over it right now, that the recommendations were not funded. So the recommendations are just being put on the shelf. So there will be no changes in the foreseeable future on the Spear Boulevard bike path area between University and Downing. There will, however, be a connection between, we're going to have to plan that, and that's what Stuart and Jenny and teams will be working on. How you go from really segregated bike paths across University to connect to the official bike path, which is just one big sidewalk, right? So I don't know, Councilwoman, if you want to say any more about that.
Yeah, I will just say, so the bond project itself is $5 million for the actual First and University location, right? There are two connecting projects to that First and University location that need to dovetail with that bond project. The first is Cherry Creek West. And so Jenny can talk a little bit more about that, but they're having conversations with community planning and development about exactly what that will look like and how that will kind of work together with the changes at First and University. The bike path between University and Downing along First is still sort of up for grabs. Now, the bond dollars themselves are for the intersection of First and University. But the city has capital improvement dollars, CIP dollars is what we call them, that exist, that are a portion of your mills and your property taxes every year that go into a capital improvement fund. And there's a 6-year CIP list that is a number of projects that exist that where the focus is to take those dollars every year, those CIP dollars every year, and address certain projects around the city, right? So we don't wait for bonds to do projects. We are also doing projects all the time. So the hope is that with some additional conversation, we could actually get to a place where we could use those CIP dollars to do the bike lane build adjacent to between University and Downing along First, adjacent to the First and University bond project at the same time. I don't know if we will get there, but it has to do with different funding sources and things like that, right? So we'll see if we can get there. There was a lot of community pushback on the original design of that bike lane. I want to just be really clear that that is an extremely unsafe area. We have to do something about it. Unfortunately, the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure team has not been particularly willing to negotiate or to make any changes to it, which is why we're sort of at this weird standstill right now where the project is just being shelved, which is correct, as Lou said. So I'm working on it to try and get us to a space where we could get to a design that where no one is happy, in which case we're in the right place. This is going to be one of those projects where everyone's mad, and that's what we're going to get to. But we do need to do something about that because it is an extraordinarily unsafe bike lane and passage. So, fingers crossed that we can get to a better place with this because from a health, safety, and welfare perspective, we can't wait another decade for this. So stay tuned for more. There's lots going on in the background and conversation, but Lou's right. For now, it is shelved. The hope is that conversations can continue so that we can come up with a better solution than what they came up with this time to get us to a place where we can make those changes, because we have to make sure that people are safe along that path, and they're not right now.
If I could just add a quick comment and a thank you to you, our councilwoman. The country club is working with us on potentially providing space. That is not a lost effort. Thanks to our councilwoman, she has engaged the real estate office to look at putting that commitment forward. I think that the challenge we had, I think we all kind of agree it's unsafe. We all agree that there's needed space. but the city designed something that you'd probably see in new development. It was so broad and so wide, and it really, really changes the character of the roadway. I think the hope is that we can come back, maybe add an extra 5 to 8 feet to that side of the road without taking away from the character of the roadway, and making it safer. But we really ended up with in a situation where there was no win. And but I do think we've made the best step forward, and thank you for doing that, Councilwoman.
Amanda, is there any documentation from the city of incidents, auto vehicle, auto pedestrian, auto bicycle on that First Avenue corridor that they would share with us? Because we hear this often, that with their broad statements that it's extremely dangerous.
Yeah, we have the crash data.
Good, that would be very helpful in your argument.
Yeah, I mean, so the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure has to look at all of that kind of data when they're doing any sort of design. And so they have done that. That was all part of the process of kind of trying to come to this design that they came to, that got so much community pushback that has been shelved. So, but the data is there. It is clear. There have been deaths, there have been accidents, it's not good. It is not a this is very unsafe in a broad general term. There is the data that shows that this is a very unsafe area.
Is that data available?
That I don't know. I'm a city council member. I don't work for the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. I know you can get it through the Colorado Open Records Act. I do not know that they will turn data like that over to the public without a court or a
We heard the same thing about the parkway and areas in this part of town when they were putting up the white posts in the middle of the roads everywhere they could find. And the substantiating data, at least in our neighborhood, did not exist. I mean, there was no interface between autos, pedestrians, and bicycles. Not a single incident in 40 years. And they were claiming that it was safe, and oh my gosh, we have to have it before we kill, thousands. So I would appreciate your assistance in trying to find how we get to that hard data on those unfortunate interfaces.
Yeah, you'll have to make a Colorado Open Records Act request through the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure to get them to turn that data over to you, but they have it. It is
Have
very.
you seen it personally?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen it personally?
I have.
And Bob, I've also seen it personally. Right before Christmas, I was riding eastbound and ended up seeing two people that almost hit each other on bikes in front of me. And the result was one of the bikes ended up in the traffic lane, going into head on into traffic. Fortunately, at that point, there were two cars farther over, not in the lane right next to the sidewalk. But I've seen that's not the only time. I've seen one other person end up with a small accident and end up in that traffic lane from a bike. And there have been so many near misses that I've just witnessed where there hadn't happened to be a car coming on into that lane at that moment. But
unfortunately,
thank you, Rob.
Those aren't captured, right? So
no, none of that data is
people
captured.
to take their phones out and start, filming or trying to document this stuff just so we have this.
And I will say, yeah, Stuart is the expert on this one. So he probably has the most up-to-date information to share with all of us. But truly, there is data on this concern. It is real.
Let me just clarify real quickly. Most of the real serious accidents occur around Downing. Downing is by far, it ranks in like the top 10 most dangerous intersections in Denver. If you don't believe it, go look at all the flowers and memorials that are all over there. try to ride your bike northbound on Downing and then get onto the Cherry Creek Trail. You're going on a space that's no wider than about 2.5 feet with your bike, with cars going by at 35 miles an hour. The other area where we do have documented incidents is at the entrance of the country club. But those are really the two areas where we have the actual data where people were injured. But I think, like Rob says, I ride the trail all the time. I see at least one or two per month where somebody's usually driven, and it's usually on the weekends. Sundays are really bad. I go out with my daughter, and it's bad. But we don't have to give up all the median to fix it.
That was my question, and that was why,
Yeah.
because I know that Downing and the entrance to the club are the worst
Yeah.
of the conflict areas.
Yep.
Thanks,
Stuart,
Rob. Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah, it's very good information to hear that if the country club is willing to work with granting a small piece of land, I really think just an additional 5 feet of space on that would make a huge amount of difference.
Well, and it's very encouraging. This is the first time in years that we've heard that the country club is willing to sit down at the table and help
Yep.
find a solution.
And I will say, I don't know that they are, but I have definitely put them in touch with the right people at the city who have the legal authority and the ability to have that conversation so that if they are, we can get to a place where we can get this done and not have to cut down that whole middle median. So I don't know. We'll see. But the right people are at the table. So that's good.
It's a work in progress. Past 30 years.
Well, let's hope something can really actually move that needle in 2026. But I wasn't given a lot of encouragement from Dottie on that. So
Lou,
we'll
can I
Stuart-
just share?
we'll have to wait and see.
Lou, can I just share one other Cherry Creek
Sure.
update? Cherry Creek West update. So we will be going to the Design Advisory Board on February 11th to present the garage as well as the office building on First Avenue. So that will be the first time we've presented roadway work to the Design Advisory Board, which they've approved. But we'll be going with the first building this month, which we're really excited about. And then on your question about renderings and design progress, I would be happy to share that in the February meeting because we're making a lot of progress on the residential as well. So I'd be happy to share where we're at with the office and the 2 apartment buildings and the Green and Market Square.
Fabulous. Okay. Well,
Lou,
yes.
I'm sorry to break in. I don't know how to raise my hand. I can't find the little symbol. But anyway, this is for Amanda. And I just want to make sure I understand that there is data to back up how dangerous the bike path is, but they won't share it without a Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
What?
So Annette, city agencies, when it comes to data like that, we just don't freely share. They don't freely share that kind of stuff. There has to be a formal request for it. And I can't tell you why that is because I don't work for a city agency, right? So I don't know if there are legal reasons for that. I don't know. But it is true that if you want specific data from the city of Denver city agencies, you have to make a KORA request for it. And that is standard operating procedure.
Okay. There's nothing you can do, but I find it pretty outrageous that they can say that you have this dangerous bike path, but they won't show you the information. So anyway, just a comment on that.
Well, there's nothing that would prevent us from making that request, that KORA request on behalf of the steering committee. So
you can make the request, but you have to pay for the information, and it can be very expensive, and most people aren't willing to pay. So depending on how many pages or how much time, and believe me, I've been there. So I don't know. I just think maybe our city should be a little bit more transparent. Okay, as you know, I'm one of the people who are really against taking out that median. So okay.
Thanks, Stuart. Stuart, can I ask you two questions? One is if there's been any movement working with the e-bikes and those scooter things, because
Okay,
I mean, I find them everywhere. And um, on the bike trail and things like that. And I know that you were moving forward with it. And my second question is um, regarding I don't know what type of time frame it takes when you're working with RTD to look at the 24 becoming a real asset and viable solution for transporting people to Cherry Creek West, but that's the university line that runs once an hour, I believe. And is that something that needs to get into their pipeline 6 months in advance, a year in advance, or what? Thanks.
We've been working a lot with RTD, and I'm very pleased to report that we have it up to 30-minute frequency. And that just started a few weeks back. So we're very happy about that. We're still asking for 15-minute frequency. And we're also focused on the number 3 that's operating at once an hour. We want that to be more frequent as well. So those are our 2 priorities. Regarding the scooters and such, we are changing vendors. There is one firm that has been selected to run that program. I think the change occurs around July 1st. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there'll be new requirements for the new vendor. So just be patient as we get this transition done. But I do think that there's going to be less of this clutter that these create in various areas of our community.
Okay, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do when I run into one of these. And frequently, when you're on the trail going up Steel Street on First Avenue, they get abandoned and they become serious issues. Am I supposed to, is it illegal for me to move them and throw them onto, I don't know, the right of way, or what is the etiquette for it? And I am asking, this is a very serious question.
You can move it, but not destroy it. Don't throw it in a ditch, but you can move it. But I think after July 1st, we will start seeing improvements.
Why don't we get you to talk about if we can get more information between now and next meeting? So I know you have it, Stuart, so
I will get that.
great. Thank you. I'm going to bounce back because I want to give I want to give Grace and Ruby, if Ruby is here too, the time that they need to cover their topic. But I skipped over Mike, so I'm very sorry, Mike. Please tell us what's going on at the mall.
Thanks, Lou. I'll go really fast so we stay on track. First of all, had another phenomenal holiday season. Retailers were really happy, so I'm really happy. I would like to give a shout out to Meredith, probably one of our best visitors. And I love all the pictures she keeps sending me. We had a lot of programming during the weekends, and it seems like it was very enjoyed by the community. So happy we were able to do that, and I'm happy that the community enjoyed that. Let's talk new tenant openings. Usually December is a very slow month in the mall for new openings. Yet we had 5 tenants open up in the month of December. Lotta Rock, Sip Fresh, Rolex, IWC, and Panerai, all phenomenal additions to the center. Please get a chance to come take a look at them if you haven't had the opportunity yet. In addition to that, under construction still, we have Captain Crepes, which is going to be a crepe shop over closer to Wetzel's Pretzels. They're going to be opening early February. Ash and Agave remains under construction in the old CPK space. They should be open mid-February. Built is under construction in a brand new home. They were in a temporary space on the other side of the mall. They're opening down by where Lululemon is currently at. They should be open in March. Speaking of Lululemon, they're building a brand new, gorgeous, 3 times the size superstore. Be right next to Neiman Marcus. That should be open probably Q2 of this year, just to keep it nice and general. And then we've got Skims, which is another very exciting tenant that's under construction right now. They should be open mid-February as well. So lots of great stuff in the pipeline. In addition to that, we still have 3 actually remodels that are underway. The H&M, Athleta, and the Gucci expansion are all underway in their existing spaces. And then lastly, as Lou alluded to earlier, we've got the potential Crate and Barrel coming up Q3 of this year. So a lot of great stuff happening. Last part, just to touch on this very briefly, shouldn't be a big change to the community side of this, but for me, it's been a systems change. I'm learning everything from the ground up again. Simon fully acquired the mall at the end of 2025, and so I'm in the process of being onboarded as a new employee with them, and also learning how to work through those new systems. At the end of the day, I'm pretty excited about that. They are a really phenomenal company, and they have some phenomenal properties across the country. So it's pretty exciting to be a part of that. So that's all I've got. Top of mind. I did have a question, if I could, if Councilwoman Sawyer is still on the line. Are you here still, Councilwoman Sawyer?
I am.
Awesome. I was wondering if you could touch base on the flock cameras. We did get approval to add those to the center. I've been fighting for those, as you know, since I got there. But in my last meeting with Commander Bell, I think there's a pause in the city of using those. Is that true, or?
Yeah, the short answer is maybe.
Okay.
Which is not a great answer. So the longer answer is this. Flock is a company, right? They are a company that is most well known for their license plate reader technology. The CEO of Flock has made some pretty significant mistakes in his discussions with the mayor's office and Denver City Council, and that is leading to some pretty big challenges with us continuing that contract.
Got it. Okay.
But so two things to know about this. The first one is that even if the city no longer partners with Flock as the business that runs our license plate reader technology, organizations that have Flock technology can continue to have those and continue to provide that information, right? Because you have your own contract with them and your own and you're in an intergovernmental agreement with the Denver Police Department. So that's number one. Number two, the license plate reader technology itself is probably not going to go away. There might be a pause while we move to a different vendor, but Axon has one, Motorola has a product, Flock has a product. There's a number of different vendors that have license plate reader technology. And so the question, I think, is the city and county of Denver going to continue a relationship with Flock, the business?
Got it.
Or is the city and county of Denver going to continue to use license plate reader technology, which is very, very helpful for a lot of different things, particularly with our safety departments. So that's the question. And I think that's probably what Commander Bell was trying to kind of explain to you, because that contract with Flock ends in March. And so the question is what happens in April. And there may be a little bit of lag time there until we can figure out what comes next. But that's what's going on.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you for that. And it sounds like we might be best served, because I think we want to do it right the first time with pausing, because we want to be in lockstep with the city. So we'll pause for now, and then definitely pick it back up once you guys know where you're headed.
Yep. And you'll know when the contract comes out, because I guarantee you that there will be lots of press about it. But Excellent. We're not there yet. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Can I just ask, this is Doug. I mean, since our neighborhood has actually entered into a contract with Flock. So is there a thought of somehow being able to reuse the cameras that are already out there? Or this would be basically, if the contract's not renewed, it would basically mean that whatever money was previously spent with Flock, that's gone?
No, as I just said, you have your own contract with Flock, right? And so that is not the city and county of Denver's contract with Flock. That is the Country Club neighborhood's contract with Flock. So your relationship with Flock is not impacted by the city and county of Denver's relationship with Flock at all. And so that is right. That is your contract with
right. Company. But I guess the idea was that we were feeding the data to Denver. So if Denver is not accepting that information anymore, then those cameras that we purchased are basically.
If you have an intergovernmental agreement with the city and county of Denver, that agreement continues to stand as well. So you are a separate entity. right? If you have an intergovernmental agreement or a memorandum of understanding with the city and county of Denver, that stands. Whether the city and county of Denver, which right now has 111 flock cameras, decides to move to 111 Motorola cameras or 111 Axon cameras, or whoever responds to the RFP and wins that bid, that doesn't change your contractual relationship with Flock at all.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that clarification.
Lou,
Okay,
that's
y'all.
that's all I have. Thank you from the property, from the shopping
Thank
center.
you. It's a great update. So thanks, Mike, and thanks for being here, and welcome Simon to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I do want to acknowledge Bethany, who's joining us again. We haven't seen her for a while, and I think that's because she changed up her email and got dropped off. So I apologize. She is with us again and still representing the Business Alliance. So welcome back.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Yeah. And with that, Grace, I'm sorry, I know you've got a lot to share with us. I have made you a co-host, and I would like to introduce Grace. She is Ruby still here? I think she was on for a little bit. Did she have to go?
She's having connectivity issues with her Wi-Fi, so she's
Okay.
been trying to get on in different ways. So she might still be on, but I'll be presenting on our behalf, and if she can hop on, she will.
Okay, everyone, please meet Grace Lopez Ramirez, Senior Area Manager and Local Government and Community Affairs representative for the Xcel impending transmission project, which I know everybody has been really eager to learn about. So thank you for coming, Grace, and please take it away.
And I'm just trying to get into slideshow mode because I'm one of those folks. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be sharing, I'm working from my laptop, so I won't be able to see you all when you raise your hands and things like that, since I just put us into presentation mode. So apologies if it's not, please, speak up if you'd like to ask me a question or you'd like me to stop and slow down. But again, thank you, Lou. Thank you to Councilmember Sawyer's office for connecting me to Lou and the steering committee. I really appreciate this opportunity to come before you guys. I see some familiar names on here, Doug and Robin. And of course, I've worked with Bethany in the past before as well. So looking forward to sharing this. This is a kind of a long deck, so I'm going to go a little bit quickly, just knowing, we have about 30 minutes and I want to make sure that I have enough time to answer any questions you might have. But I'm here to talk about this new transmission project. You may have heard about it back in October and November. We sent out letters in snail mail to everyone back in October, announcing the project, sharing our project website, which I believe Lou has shared with you all via email as well. And then starting to do our outreach for it, including some virtual town halls, which some of you may have joined us for. We had one virtual town hall and 2 in-person town halls about this project back in November. But we're going to continue community engagement. So this is where, I'm so pleased to be able to get in front of all of you tonight. And we'll go through this quickly, but please know that I am happy to come and attend any of your registered neighborhood organization membership meetings to do this presentation with your individual neighborhoods as well, or any other stakeholders that you would like me to come and present to about this project. So the project itself is called the Leedsdale Monroe Eladi Transmission Project. And this is going to be replacing a transmission line. There we go. And I'll get to that here in a second. There's a lot that I'm going to try to cover here, so I'm not going to read through this agenda, but obviously going through the project itself, the benefits, some of the things that we're thinking about as far as the route and the coordination that we have to do, traffic control and safety, and some of the things I already mentioned as far as some of the community outreach and engagement that we'll be doing. So the project overview itself, this project is looking to replace and relocate a 6-mile long, 230 kV underground transmission line. And it's going through central and southeast Denver. As you can see from this route, where our current transmission line is now is this dotted line. And I know, earlier in today's meeting, there was a lot of conversation about some of the congestion and safety issues that you all are experiencing along Spear. So accessing this current transmission line where it is very difficult. The coordination, given that it's on major streets, coordination with the city, and impact to both the neighborhoods and the overall area is pretty big. So when we knew that we had to expand and replace this transmission line, and working with the city, we knew we were going to have to look at a different route, that we couldn't replace it in the spot where they currently lies, which is along that dotted line. So this is our proposed route. We are working in 2 phases. So that's the color change here. The green phase is the phase we're currently in. And there's another slide about this later on. As you can see, we're starting here at our Leedsdale substation, which you all may be familiar with, adjacent to George Washington High School, along Leedsdale there, just next to basically the Starbucks. And then we're working our way into the Hilltop neighborhood. We're doing some work on Cedar, and we'll be crossing Colorado Boulevard to do work in Robbins neighborhood at the Monroe substation, and coming out along Monroe and crossing through Cherry Creek North. And we can talk a little bit more about this. We're looking at 4th Avenue, and then given, Bromwell and the small park there, like some of the crossing around University into Cherry Creek, Country Club neighborhood, and then going north on, I believe that's Lafayette to 9th, and recognizing, of course, there's a lot going on 9th. There's a lot going on, obviously, along this whole route. This is a very impactful project, and we recognize that going into, Capitol Hill, and then eventually crossing Broadway into Golden Triangle to connect to our substation at 13th and Aladi. So this new line will decommission our existing transmission line after this new line is energized. I'll go to the next slide. So what is the need for this project? And I don't know if you guys can see, there's like a little box in the wrong place here. Let me see if I can move this around a little bit so you can see the full slide. But essentially the need for the project, we've been talking about it tonight, right? There's a lot of construction in Cherry Creek North. There is a lot of development happening in central Denver. The area has, the need and the requests for reliable electric service have increased. A lot of us are investing in EV vehicles and adding EV chargers to our homes. So all of the different energy needs that have increased significantly have required us to invest in this new transmission line. This is going to support our continued reliability and meet any of our future energy needs. So this is why, again, this existing line must be replaced. The other key factor here is that it's allowing us to harness that renewable energy that we are generating out on the Eastern Plains and bring it into the metro area by building these larger transmission lines that have more capacity. This is a real picture of what the construction is going to look like and the type of pipes that we're going to be putting in. So this is, a very good depiction of a similar project. Addressing the need, I've mentioned this already, but essentially we're replacing the existing line with a larger, more modern electric cable system, which gives us higher capacity to support future load growth. We heard from Cherry Creek West earlier and all of their project there at the their development. And as we heard from the bid, there's just a lot going on. And we really need to invest in greater capacity through central Denver. So, some of the things that we were thinking about in relocating the new line instead of replacing it in place, not just staying away from that high traffic public roadways where the line is currently, but also allowing us to continue existing service to the customers on this line during our construction phase, which would have been very difficult if we kept it in place. And then also being cognizant, because of our franchise agreement with the city, that we keep it within road right of way with significant underground space. So there are a lot of constraints with other utilities already in the roadway. So we have to be mindful of that when we're planning our routes. Streets that would have, available space for all of the equipment we'll be putting into the ground, into the right of way. This keeps skipping on me, apologies. So some of the project benefits we already talked about: enhancing our reliability, strengthening the electric grid, and supporting these renewable energy generation imports into Denver. This little schematic shows a little bit about how electric power starts and how it moves eventually to us as customers, right? So it starts at a generating station that could be wind or solar, or at a generation plant. It's stepped up to a transformer level voltage and is carried along that larger, taller transmission line. And those are those really tall poles that you see with multiple arms, like over I-25 and down some of our transmission easements through central Denver. That voltage is carried through a transmission line. Then it's stepped down, and then it's carried again through our transmission lines to a substation. And this is where this project, takes place essentially here, where we underground that transmission line coming out of a substation to connect back into another substation, which is what we're doing with this project, connecting 3 different substations with an underground transmission line. And then it gets stepped down to a transformer from that distribution substation and distributed along this distribution line at a lower voltage to our customers, whether they're industrial customers, residential customers, or retail customers. So in some neighborhoods, like in Hilltop, you'll see our distribution lines, because there's no alley at the back of people's homes, those distribution poles are actually in people's backyards. So we have an easement on private property for distribution lines. It looks a little different all throughout Denver. In your neighborhoods, some of them might be buried, the distribution lines, and some of them might be above ground. But the project that we're talking about here really takes place here in this part of the graphic, from substation to underground transmission line to another substation.
Grace?
Yes, go ahead.
Good question. This is Bob Fuller. On your very first slide, you said you were replacing and decommissioning a 230 kVA line.
Yes.
And with a 230 kVA line. That's clearly not the case. You're increasing it. What will the increased capacity of this system be?
Ruby, are you there? Can you help me with this, answer this question? Because my understanding is that I might have to go ahead.
So the capacity, so it's still going to be 230 kV from what's under SPEAR to what we're doing now. It's just a more modern system that can accommodate more growth in the future.
And what will that future, I mean, what is the ultimate capacity of the system you're putting in?
See it. We'd have to double check with the engineers on that one.
I can tell you
500 kV, or will it be 270 kV, or what's the ultimate capacity it designs for?
I can follow up with you on that answer. I can tell you that some of the work that's happening at the substations as well is including additional transformers to allow for more capacity along the line. So I think that has something to do with it as well, but I'm happy to respond back. Unfortunately, I don't have the engineers on this call, and so I'm just trying to cover,
it's just a pretty basic question is all. And there was a lot of blowback with the first line, which I was involved in.
Oh, were you, sir?
Down Spear Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
Those are heavy duty transmission corridors.
They are.
To put them through residential neighborhoods, that's why it's in Spear presently, so that it would not be adjacent to homes. And I'm just curious, I know it's traffic-wise, it's a problem, but those are heavy duty, ultimate capacity corridors you're sticking in. And I'll shut up now and let you get on with your presentation, but that information would be very helpful.
I appreciate the question, Bob, and we'll definitely follow back up with you all. Ruby's helping me take notes. We didn't introduce Ruby properly, but she is with our consultant team who's helping us stand up all the different engagement tactics and communication tactics we're using for this project. So she's taking notes, and we'll make sure to respond back to your question about the KV line.
Thank you,
there
Joyce.
is a little bit more information about why we're choosing this route on a further slide, to your earlier comment as well, Bob, as far as why we're choosing residential streets. But going back to this then, again, we're going to be upgrading the 3 substations. There's a lot of different permits that we're working through, both at the local, state, and federal level, since we're crossing Colorado Boulevard, and, just the various jurisdictions that we're working through with this route. Because it is, construction is an open cut trenching method, which is what is shown here in this picture as well. We're going to be installing vaults, duct banks, conduit, and cables. And again, back to Ruby's answer, that it's really just upgrading into a modern electric cable system that's going to allow us to bring in that's renewable energy. We'll be then coming back and restoring the area to the pre-construction conditions and energizing that new rebuilt line and decommissioning the existing one. This is a little bit more information about, again, the route, a little bit clearer of, again, we are currently in Hilltop neighborhood. So we're at the beginning of phase 1. When we cross Colorado Boulevard and come to the Monroe substation, we'll be in phase 2. We are planning another virtual town hall when we start phase 2. For those of you and your members who were not able to join us for our first series of open houses in November, we will be offering a virtual open house for the set before we kick off the second phase. And I'll be back in contact with the council woman's office to provide that information, so you all are aware of that night. We don't have a date identified yet, but it will be later this year for that virtual town hall. But then again, the route is on mainly residential streets. This is some of the engineering analysis that we went through in order to choose this route. And I know I'm keep moving this thing to try to see if you guys can read this, but I'm happy to share this PowerPoint with Lou, and she can send it out to everyone so you can read through it at your leisure. But, there was a lot of considerations we had to take in. I'm sorry. Did I cut someone off? Does someone have a question?
No, I think maybe I'm dog managing. So sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries, friend. Again, I'll send this PowerPoint to Lou so you guys can read it at your leisure. But there's a lot of existing underground utilities and a lot of the different streets that we analyzed, the environmental analysis of where we can put this type of equipment, the electrical engineering requirements, where it has to be as much as possible in a straight line, the impact of public transportation and traffic. We had in meeting with Dottie multiple times, Dottie was very strongly suggested that we stay off of streets that had bike lanes, that we stayed off of streets that were arterial streets, and all the different considerations we took in when analyzing this route. Obviously, we understand there's property impacts to your properties, but also property impacts to the right of way, and even just the space being a really big one as far as existing underground utilities, taking into consideration all these other things, these other criteria. I've been talking about this quite a bit, I feel like, but again, some of the constraints with the routing is staying off high traffic arterial roads, the existing underground facilities, above ground wastewater infrastructure that we had to avoid, staying off of streets that had dedicated bike lanes and one-way streets, which is difficult with 6th and 8th being the other corridor going through central Denver. All the different permitting requirements across city park spaces, so trying to stay off of streets that have parkways, work area vicinity to schools. And I do recognize that we are coming very close to Bromwell. The construction impacts on businesses. We had at one point looked at going down 3rd Avenue through Cherry Creek. From an engineering standpoint, the engineers loved it. I can tell you, I told them over my dead body, are we going down a small business corridor in Cherry Creek Business Improvement District? Because the impact would be, I'm not saying necessarily greater, because I recognize this as a huge impact to our residential customers along the route, but impacting people's small businesses along 3rd would have been, definitely not the route as a company we would want to go. So a lot of considerations in looking at this route. Again, public transportation, bus routes, thinking through the, all of the different city and county of Denver improvement plan guidelines, trying to avoid private property easements and trying to stay in the right of way as much as possible, the drainage corridors. I'm thinking about how quickly we can do this work. Are we able to do it at night? If not, daytime work restrictions, knowing, what other construction is happening throughout the day. And if it, what does that traffic management need to look like, and working with Dottie very closely. And then, how do we lessen the impact as much as possible? And this is how we determined this route. Permitting, I won't read through these, but we have to go through a lot of permitting. This is just the city and county of Denver permitting that we'll be doing for this project, that we are already doing for this project, since we are already working in Hilltop. Some of the project coordination that we've been doing, you'll see the bid here. We are going out to registered neighborhood organizations and continuing doing education about the project, and some of the other agencies that we're working with, including RTD and CDOT. This is our anticipated project schedule. We were planning this for a couple of years. We started the permitting conversations in 2025 with both the city and the state. Our public outreach began in Q4 of 2025 and will continue throughout the project. Our pre-construction was really in Q4 as well of 2025, where we were doing some work within our Leedsdale substation and doing a little bit of work in the right of way in South Hilltop neighborhood, but continuing some of that pre-construction work through this year. And we did kick off construction officially for phase one again in Q4 of 2025. We anticipate phase one going until 2027, and then phase two being really some of it starting in 2026 and then continuing it through 2028. And that's why I anticipate our next round of virtual open houses before phase two to be sometime later this year. And then our in-service date for the new transmission line in 2028. This is a closer look at the first phase. But given our time constraints, I'm going to just skip to the next one, which is phase two, where again, we cross Colorado Boulevard and come to the Monroe substation. I know Robin and I met on site at the Monroe substation a few months ago. And Robin, I think I owe you an email back, because we have had one of the good things about this project. I recognize it's a lot of benefits to having greater electric reliability throughout central Denver. But one of the additional benefits is that we will have funding to do some beautification work at all of our substations. And I know that Robin and Cherry Creek East have some ideas about what we can do at the Monroe substation. We've had a lot of folks stealing things from our irrigation system at Monroe. And a few months back, we ended up pulling out all of the dying grass and putting in rocks. So obviously rocks deter urban camping and our in-house community from moving in, but it does not look as pretty as a nice landscaped corner. So we're very cognizant of what beautification projects we can do as part of this project. But this is again a closer look at that route that we're looking at. This route has been, for the most part, approved by Dottie. The only piece that we're still working on a little bit is this last little bit in Golden Triangle, because of the city's proposed 5280 trail that's coming down Acoma. My understanding is, I don't know what the timeline is for that, but we're still working with the city to finalize this last little bit of route. Otherwise, this is our final route and approved route by the city. Our construction process, I already talked about this a little bit, but this is a good little schematic. We are going to come in and do the pave cutting, remove the pavement, excavate the trench. I won't read through all of this, but as you can see, it's a multiple step process. When we're done installing the new electric cable system, we will do a temporary pavement, and then we're going to come back with permanent restoration, which the timeline between temporary pavement and permanent restoration, I'm trying to make as quickly as possible so that you're not living with this temporary look and feel to your roadway in front of your home. What to expect during construction. Obviously, this is heavy equipment that's coming into your residential neighborhoods. So, we are going to be doing a lot of marking on the streets as we're starting to plan out the next phase of work. Pruning and trimming some vegetation is needed just to make sure that the work is continuing safely, and that we're partnering with the city's forestry department to make sure that that we're not harming any trees in right of way as we're doing this work. The street and sidewalk closures, there'll be a lot of detours and signs, increased traffic time potentially for commuters as they're going north and south. Some temporary parking restrictions, which we're very cognizant as we go into Capitol Hill, with a lot of apartment buildings and condo buildings. The level of engagement and communication we need to do with that neighborhood that might rely more on street parking. So working very closely with those property owners to ensure that their tenants are aware of these parking restrictions. Temporary changes to the street and driveway access. We have a really great crew that's happy to work with you individually to ensure you have access to your garage. I know in Hilltop we've worked individually with customers that need access to their EV charger in their garage. So all those different things we're very cognizant of and happy to work with you and your neighborhood. We understand trash pickup and all of those things that come into play when we're impacting you by cutting a trench through the middle of the right of way. There'll be fencing around the work itself to keep everyone safe. Again, that temporary restoration. We are going to be aligning our work hours with local ordinances. So it'll be during the day. We will not be doing nighttime work as of right now. Traffic control, working with Dottie on traffic control, ensuring that we have enough signage. We are going to be doing yard signs along the right of way with a QR code that's sending people to our project website, so that if people who are walking their dog and might not, or stuck at the light or something, might not be aware of this project, that they can go to our project website by scanning our QR codes on the signs that are going to be along the route, to ensure that everyone is as informed as possible, even if you're just driving through the neighborhood. And then there's the URL for our project website, but I have a barcode as well, a QR code that I'll be sharing. We already talked a little bit about this. The project safety is like, obviously, first and foremost, our biggest priority, ensuring that this is safe for your neighborhoods, for you, for your neighbors, but also for our crews. So, some tips as to what to think about when we're doing the construction. The public outreach and engagement, I talked about this. This really kicked off in October when we sent out the mailer and we announced our open houses. We also, I went and did briefings with all of our elected officials that impact the project. So Councilmember Hines, Councilwoman Sawyer, as well as our at-large council folks were briefed. And we're going to continue. We did mail notice letters to the registered neighborhoods and business improvement districts and JIDs that are along this route, and just continuing to do that engagement by monitoring our project dedicated phone line. We have a project website that we have an interactive map on, and a lot of information, as well as an opportunity to sign up for our newsletter. There's some construction notices and periodic project update letters that we'll be sending, but also know that you can always sign up again for that newsletter. I already mentioned this, the placement of construction signage and door hangers as we're moving the project, down the route. And it's about 2 weeks on on every 2 blocks we're spending. And I can talk a little bit more about that, but I know that I'm out of time, so I'm just trying to go quickly. Meeting with property owners on site, so we can work through any of your access issues. And then again, those e-newsletters during construction, if you sign up for them on our website. So opportunities to engage with us, please scan and check out our website. If you haven't already, please do sign up for our newsletter, our construction newsletter, so you're aware of any detours, or as we inch closer towards your neighborhood, you're up to speed on where we are with the construction. We do have this dedicated email, which actually Ruby helps us answer, and our dedicated project phone number, which also we work with power engineers to ensure that we have good coverage of all of these different forms of communication, and you have prompt responses to your questions throughout the project. And then lastly, thank you so much. Here's again these ways to reach us, and of course, reaching me directly. When I introduced myself at the beginning, I didn't mention that I do local government and community affairs for Xcel Energy across the city and county of Denver, so all 78 neighborhoods. And a little bit of everything. I'm a public affairs professional, so I'm definitely not, an engineer and an expert on any one thing, but I'm happy to answer any questions beyond this transmission project. I also have asked Lou for some time on a later agenda this year to come back and talk to you all about our franchise agreement with the city and county of Denver and where we are with that franchise as well. And with that, I'll stop and stop sharing maybe.
So thank you. And I know everybody, we're actually a minute over, so we're going to bring this to a close with this caveat. So there were a lot of good questions in the chat. I have a number of questions as well. And what I would just suggest is that if you have specific questions right now, please send them to me. And then if you don't mind sending the whole presentation to me, that just the information. Do we lose her, Ruby?
I'm here.
Do
you want me to send you the PowerPoint information?
If you could send the PowerPoint. I did send everybody links to the project website, but I think if we can get this PowerPoint, we can get that out. We can get it up on our respective social media and get it so that people are aware this is ongoing. I think they're, knowing that this is going to be a long-term relationship. We'll look forward to having you back often. I know Councilwoman Sawyer has really teed this up for us. I'm sure we will want you to come in and speak to the RNOs and probably the people, small group meetings with the people who will be whose homes are actually on those streets. I know there are questions about opportunities for undergrounding utilities and what's going to happen to the bigger trees and which side of the street. All those are fair questions at this point. So, but we are out of time. And so what I would say is, let's keep this going. Let's know that it's coming. And let's try to make sure that there is an opportunity for everybody to stay really engaged. So with that, I'm going to thank you for presenting. I'm sorry we got a little tight on time, but this is going to be a big thing for our area, and we look forward to working with you as this proceeds. Robin is going to have to manage that first part. It looks like Cherry Creek North has a little bit of a ways to go, and maybe, the good thing is there are always lessons learned as we move forward. So share concerns, questions with me. I will get them to Grace. Grace will send me the PowerPoint and I will share it with all of you with the other information I've promised you. So with that, I'm going to thank you all for being here. Look forward to a really busy and full 2026 with all of your help. We'll make it a really good year. So thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, Lou.
Have a good one.